Alright, so I know Batman's whole thing is like not killing people. This guy's definitely got brain damage, probably paralyzed for the rest of his life. I don't know, it might have been better to just kill him.
To start this off, just know that I'm not a big Batman fan. I don't dislike him, and like most people, I thought the movies were pretty cool.
I'm Batman.
And he has some great memes. But I just want to say that going into this game, I was not super hyped for the theme. My knowledge of the Batman world is kind of embarrassing. Like, I know the significance of this, but also it was about an hour into the game before I realized I had been calling this guy Wilfred the whole time. Dude, I've been calling this guy Wilfred the whole time? So all of that to say that I probably would have sat on this game a little bit longer and waited for a sale if it was not for this one viewer who gave me the motivation to jump into this game immediately. Oh, and also because we got the game for free when we bought my wife's Quest 3. And man, am I glad I did not sit on this game because it was an absolute blast. I knew starting out that I might be in for something special when I got chills the first time I flew down as Batman and saw my shadow pacing beneath me. Well, not the first time because I didn't read the tutorial instructions, so most of my early glide attempts went like this.
Sneak attack. Here we go. Ah, crap.
But my failed flights aside, it doesn't take long to start enjoying this game. In fact, I was loving this game from the very start. The story, voice acting, cutscenes, sound, and environment all had me hooked immediately. Now, I know some people have started comparing this to Half-Life Alyx, which then made another set of people pretty angry that that was even a consideration. And while I don't think the comparison even matters much, I do see where the comparisons are coming from, to a point. When you first arrive in Gotham, the world feels super alive, just like Alyx. You can interact with a good amount of stuff and get satisfying results.
Dude, these even have the rattly little can sounds? It's awesome.
You even have a few fun set pieces that let you relive your youthful school days of playing chess by yourself. It just seems like a lot of thought and polish went into making the world feel lived in for this game, and that really pulls you into the immersion. I will say here though, I found the interactivity of the world does die off as the game continues, but we'll talk about that in the next section. Backing up this world immersion is a very fun and interesting story. As I said, I lightly know the Batman lore, and in general, I don't really care if a game has a good story. But I found the story in this game to be super interesting, and I was excited to see where it went. I even enjoyed the side stories and Batman lore that was dropped in, and I spent a good amount of time spying on these these three specifically, in order to see where their ever-evolving arc went. If you are a Batman fan, I think you will really enjoy living in this game and seeing characters you know come alive in VR. But hey, maybe you think, story's dumb, and just want to punch things. Well, in that case, for my fellow Neanderthals, this game is still great for you because the combat is phenomenal. The fighting in this game is similar to a rhythm game. Certain prompts will come on screen telling you to hit specific spots or punch with a specific angle in hand. There's also counters, specials, gadgets, combos, and a variety of enemy types to fight against to give you a lot of flexibility in how you approach things. When it all comes together, it looks something like this. I can't emphasize enough that the combat is so well done in this game. Everything feels incredibly smooth, and I never had any issues with the game not registering things correctly. If I missed a punch, I knew it was my fault. Because of how awesome the combat is, it is easy to say that the combat was 100% my favorite part of this game. And getting to do this, or this, or this, felt amazing every time.
Oh my god.
If you hate the combat though, you might not like this game because there is a lot of it. So much so that I actually would get tired during my sessions.
Alright, so I've been playing for like an hour? 2 hours? I'm like physically tired. I'm like not looking forward to, well I am, but I'm not super excited about fighting this big group of people. Because I'm just like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I don't want to be Batman anymore. But crime doesn't stop. Crime doesn't sleep.
But luckily there are plenty of other things to do in between combat, so you can give your little noodle arms a rest. Outside of combat, you will have stealth segments, which usually end in combat for me anyway, where you do cool stuff like this, detective mode, where you get to play a Dora the Explorer minigame at the end.
Oh my god, it's a trivia. Gotta play trivia in this game?
And collectible hunting. You also get a few new abilities as the game goes on, both as the story progresses and unlockables through the skill tree. This incentivizes you to return to old areas and explore for collectibles you missed, or couldn't get before. I didn't go out of my way to return to old areas, but I did love hunting down the collectibles. And man, there are a lot, so if that's your thing, you will be busy. Another thing you'll spend time doing is sneaking through vents so you can get great views on iconic Batman characters, like this one. The flow of the game is fairly linear. You will spend 90% of the game in Arkham Prison, alternating between playing as Batman or pretending you are a criminal named Matches Malone. Despite the linear approach and static setting, I still felt that I had a good amount of freedom to explore, and the environment felt pretty open and unrestricted to me. There's also some light puzzle solving, usually when going for a collectible, and usually nothing that's too difficult, but there were a few times I got stuck for a minute because I'm just an idiot.
How am I trapped here? I'm in like the tiniest room ever. There's no exits, and I can't figure out how to get through here. Okay, there's absolutely nothing I can do here, right? Oh my god, I'm so stupid.
As for replayability, I think the game offers some good value, despite its higher asking price. There are multiple difficulties you can test out or replay on, as well as 6 challenges, 3 combat and 3 stealth, that you can compete in for high scores. But just be prepared for a challenge on these leaderboards. I thought I did pretty well in this one, and I still got absolutely stomped.
I felt like we did pretty good at 31,000. Let's just check it. That score is crazy, right? What? 32,000? 233,000? What?
Some of these bat people on the leaderboard are just insane with these scores. Additionally, you can revisit areas to find some of the 136 collectibles, or to go after some of the achievements, which then gives you money to buy prison decorations. So there is plenty to do in this game if you want, and plenty of ways to get good replay value out of Arkham. Though for me, I felt the game offered enough in just one playthrough to warrant the price of entry. Also, I know Batman's whole thing is being non-lethal, but let's just check out this footage here. Explain this, Bruce. With all that said, I love this game, and I would definitely recommend it. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. First, as I mentioned before, the world feels a lot more empty once you get into the prison. A part of this makes sense. I mean, we're in prison, we aren't supposed to have nice things. But I also don't really notice environments a ton, and I definitely noticed the environment in the prison felt fairly empty in terms of interactable items. There's still stuff to mess with, like reading newspapers and practicing your gangster signs. But I just want to mention this because it felt weird with how much other polish went into this game. I also did have a few glitches in my playthrough, which could be because I was recording, but I felt like I should still mention them. The most common things I saw were some choppy cutscenes or brief issues with overlapping or cut out audio and voice lines. These were fairly ignorable, though I also had this happen once.
Oh, no. That's not going to be good.
Which was kind of hilarious and quickly fixed with a reload. However, there was one issue that was detrimental to my experience. Every time I used a smoke bomb during combat, frame rate would suffer. It was still fine for fighting, but the stutter made the combat feel less fun for what was normally a pure butter experience. I would not be surprised though if this isn't something the devs are aware of and actively working to fix, since I did play a majority of this game before the first major update patch was released. One more minor complaint I had is that while the game did have good options to help with motion sickness, there was no teleport locomotion option, which I know is a bummer for some people. But even if you typically get sick from using full locomotion, this game is so good that I would recommend you still try it. Put on all the vignette settings and see if you can still play. If you can't, just return the game, but I think this is not a game to miss out on. Also, there was not necessarily a seated option, though there is a height calibration, so you should be fine playing this game seated. I personally didn't try it, but I would guess you would want a swivel chair because you will be spinning around in fights a lot to counter attackers, so just keep that in mind. And finally, although this might just be because I had the wrong expectations going into the game, but I felt like the stealth aspect of this game was a little bit lacking. Don't get me wrong, the stealth segments are definitely there and they can be very fun, but there just weren't as many of these sections as I expected there to be. And oftentimes, mostly because I suck at stealth, it was easier to just fight everyone head on instead of picking them off one by one. This didn't hurt my experience with the game though, because I'm not a huge stealth player to begin with, but I did want to mention it in case that's a huge draw for you. Here we go. Ooh, that was worth it. Dang, I got 3 of them too. That was awesome. Overall, the game took me about 12 hours to beat, and that is with some light exploration, but without revisiting any areas, which had me come in around an 85% completion rate. And these were just some of the most pure fun hours I have ever spent in VR. The game was just an absolute blast to play, and the pacing was great since the game never seemed to slow down or have any dull sections for me. Whether you're doing cool stuff like drop kicking prisoners in their AA meeting,
here we go.
You done messed up, AA Ron!
Or providing guards with free vasectomies,
Oh man, I love that. Am I okay? Am I okay as a person? I think so.
Or just wasting time prank calling Harvey on the prison payphone. I was never bored with this game. It really immersed me in the world, and it made me feel like Batman. Or whatever it feels like to be Batman fighting this behemoth roid-raged monster of a man. So, as someone who's not really into Batman, I would 100% recommend this game. And if you are a Batman fan already, honestly, why are you still watching this review? You should have been playing this game yesterday. That's it for me. Hopefully you found this review helpful, or something, and as always, thanks for watching.
These guys are just like cowering in front of me, and I'm just like gonna beat the crap out of them no matter what. Too bad, no sob stories. I don't have parents.